Right, the Reds, it's Talking Reds, another day in isolation. Today with Ian Ryan. We are in our respective homes and we're going to have a chat about the Reds because the Anfield wrap is keeping on going all the way through. Loads of stuff there for you to listen to and watch and read and all that, so get involved with all of that. What we're talking about today, well, there's a story this morning in the papers that Liverpool's psychologist has issued some help, if you like, or guidance at least to the players, just for how to sort of to get through all this. And it's a little reminder, isn't it, that while this is completely mad for all of us, it's completely mad for all of them as well. And, you know, they've had the opportunity to have the title wrapped up, taken away from them. You know, they're doing the same as us, albeit in bigger houses, and that, you know, they're having to keep their heads down, keep out the way of people. There's a little video, I think, kicking around showing loads of them like in home gyms and things like that. But the stuff is very practical advice. It's talking about sort of, you know, not overthinking and not getting involved in stuff that you can't control. So when and if the Premier League comes around, that's not in the control of the players. He also talks there about sort of just looking after yourself, like not watching the news all day, not getting too involved in social media, brushing your teeth. But you know what I mean? You've got to do all these little bits, haven't you, to look after yourself, and it's the same for them.
100%. I think it's because of what you mentioned there, because they live in maybe luxurious houses, because obviously they're quite wealthy, they will get maybe a little bit forgotten about. I get it, because, you know, there's people far, far worse off, and you feel like you always have to say that because it is true. But at the same time, Robert, I think I said on a reaction show the other day, these are lads who've had their livelihoods taken from them as well at this moment in time. You know, they're a group of footballers who are used to being extremely active, and suddenly they are no longer active. You know, they can't do the thing that they love doing. So that's got to have an impact on your mental health a little bit. It surely must do. And I think, you know, if you listen to people, ex-players and stuff who are used to routine and then suddenly have that routine taken away from them, it has a real impact on those fellas. So, you know, it must be difficult because, as you said at the very beginning of this, they were on the cusp of doing something unbelievable. It was about, you know, let's win this title for the first time in 30 years. That will have been at the forefront of everyone's mind. Obviously, this situation has been hanging over us like a bit of a dark cloud for a while, but they would have thought by now that they'd be champions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The weekend we've just had, and I try not to think about it too much because you can drive yourself absolutely mad, can't you? But, you know, now and again you get a message of a mate saying, no, we should be there now, you know what I mean? We should just clinched it, you know what I mean? We should be in the boozer watching it. And whilst all that's true, you think, I don't want to think about that because it's such a difficult thing to kind of start to think about, allow yourself to think about. But it'll be the same for the players as well. Really, really tough.
Yeah, it's Lee Richardson is the psychologist, and he's just talking about, you know, staying in control of stuff you can stay in control of. And I think, did you watch the Maradona film?
Yeah, I've seen it before, mate. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it was on Channel 4 on Saturday night, and it seemed a lot of people were watching it. I watched it again myself, but also like a few of my mates were watching it at the same time, and like we didn't say like, you know, let's have like a watch party or something, because well, that's what I mean. You can't put that on the lads' WhatsApp group, can you? But it sort of unofficially turned into one because it was like, you know, one of the lads who was watching it just suddenly puts like, you know, Maradona, greatest player ever, discuss. And then next thing, like, everyone was bailing in, everyone was doing like their all-time 11s and all this. And like I was like, oh, you've got to have Fat Ronaldo in. Fat Ronaldo was unbelievable. I'm having Fat Ronaldo up front. And then it's like, you know, like one of my mates wanted Schmeichel, and then there's a blue nose piping up going, what about Shankar? It's like, nah, Buffon, innit? I don't know. Like, yeah. But it was good, like, do you know what I mean? It turned into this big thing where, like, everyone was throwing in, like, who the best players ever were. We were talking about Maradona. We were saying about Maradona that, you know, everyone always compares, like, Messi to him, don't they? And says, like, who's the best? I mean, Messi's a model pro, though, isn't he? Whereas Maradona, as we saw in the film, most definitely wasn't. I mean, the bit where he's basically saying he was like playing the match, then going out till like Wednesday, after the weekend, and then basically training Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and playing on the Sunday. It's like, how did you do that? I like the stuff as well about, you know, like he was talking about finding his rhythm in Italy. And as he's talking, it's showing all this footage of him getting absolutely clattered. There's people going boom right through him. And he was like, I had to sort of work out, how fast to run with the ball, how much I could use my skill, all this kind of stuff. And then it's showing you, like, as he's talking, he's scoring, he's rattling them in the top bin and all this kind of stuff. And it's a great film, isn't it?
Oh, mate, it's an unbelievable film. And the first time I watched it was at the cinema. And it was great watching it at the flicks. Like, it was brilliant, you know what I mean? And he's a player that will always have bad opinion because of the off-the-field stuff that you've just mentioned. But one thing that I think everyone would always agree on is the fact that he's just one of the greatest, some people might say the greatest footballer that's ever played the game. And I probably would always lean towards Messi because that's more our era, I suppose. I would have caught the end of Maradona's career and stuff. But at the same time, you only got to see him in World Cups, didn't you? You know what I mean? It wasn't something that you could kind of regularly kind of, look at in terms of the football that he was playing and stuff. But the thing you mentioned there is probably the most, I suppose it's hard to compare because Messi will not get, whilst he'll get treatment that isn't great in terms of the physical stuff, it's probably nothing compared to what Maradona was having. And there's some famous games, isn't there, in Spain, certainly, when he's playing for Barcelona, that you can go back and watch. And I mean, he wasn't shy in giving it out himself, to be fair. You know what I mean? He could handle himself. But the off-the-field stuff as well, I mean, he was. I mean, the film talks about it. Obviously, the links with kind of the mob and stuff and all that. It was just a wild way to live, wasn't it? And it was very interesting when he comes up against Italy in the World Cup, doesn't he, for Argentina? And obviously, people are quite divided because a lot of the Italian fans, certainly Napoli fans, just loved them to bits, regardless of the fact that he's playing for Argentina. But it's a superb film. And obviously, you met the guy who was obviously at the heart of it, didn't you, as well? So I've watched that on YouTube, which is really good.
Yeah, Asif, really nice fella, and we were fortunate enough, as you say, to interview him, and we put that out free over the weekend. So if you only watch the free stuff, it's on our YouTube channel there. It's like a 40-minute interview with him about making this Maradona film, meeting Maradona, but also about his own history, and he is a Red, so that's good, innit? Right, well, we are still doing stuff, as I say. I'm needing Asif things out there, but we've also done a bedding in. Remember that? That was basically where we all go to boozer when we were allowed to, and we talked about footy. We managed to get one in there just before everything was closed down the other week, so that is in the can and ready to go and ready for you to watch. So if you don't subscribe, there's a taster of it now. Bedding in.
I think this is a really important point about our owners, and I'm always reluctant to praise FSG because you get accused of being in their pockets and all that, but something that they had, because they'd owned a sports club, an iconic sports club before, and they'd been through this process. I often say this to people, like, everyone forgets that it took Americans, and even Hicks and Gillette, it took Americans to come in. We were going to move with our Scouse owners. We were going to leave Anfield, and it took American owners to come in and go, sorry, why would you leave here? That's crazy. We just do this.
Okay, so that's bedding in there. If you want to have a go at that, download the Anfield Wraps app and you'll be able to get it on there. You can get some free tokens if you don't want to subscribe straight away, and you can watch all the stuff on there. There's been loads of stuff out the last week or so, and thanks very much everyone for your messages saying you appreciate what we do. We appreciate the messages. It really helps, honestly. What also really helps is just the club being sound. I think the club being sound and the players being sound. And like I mentioned before, obviously the mental health stuff, it's the same for them. It's worrying times. They'll be worrying about the family and stuff like that. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff going on. We've seen the stuff with the food banks the other week. Over the weekend, we've seen Peter Moore put out a tweet basically saying, obviously they have a lot of staff who are used to dealing with big crowds. And he was basically saying if any of the supermarkets needed a hand in terms of crowd control, the Liverpool, the people who work for Liverpool were happy to give up their time to help out. And it's that. There's Robbo as well. Robbo's made some donations to a Glasgow food bank as well as helping the one out in Liverpool. And it's that sense, isn't it, that not only them just being sound, but that the club is actually part of the community. I think there was times in the past where it didn't really feel like that, wasn't there? I mean, you look at sort of how Anfield went down in terms of an area, and you have to say that in the past decisions by Liverpool contributed to that. But I think now, perhaps it's the best it's been for a long, long time in terms of how good Liverpool is in the community.
100%. And I think you're right. I mean, there was you'd say, disconnect between the club and fans. And we've spoken on the shows and stuff, and I've said it like many a time. There was a real kind of tough time between fans and players alike. I say tough time, but you know what I mean in terms of that relationship just wasn't there, Robbo. When you go to football matches out of duty and you get behind the team because they're wearing the kit and they're wearing red, and that's what you do as a supporter. But you didn't particularly like many of them. You know what I mean? There was a time in the 90s where you thought some of these players would rather be anywhere than doing the job. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, it wasn't like that for every single player. And I remember seeing something recently where I think it was on Sky, and Gary Neville was talking about United always had the edge because they felt that they were just more professional as a club. And Jamie Redknapp was in the studio and he piped up a little bit and said, listen, you know, I get your points. And there was one or two in the group that probably weren't doing the things they should have been doing. But there was others like John Barnes, who was an ultra professional and wanted the very best standards. But if all 11 lads aren't doing that, if they're not all kind of singing to the same tune, then you are gonna have times where you lose games. Or if there's a side that are ultra professional, every single one of them, and working to a certain standard, then you will fall short. And we saw that in the 90s. And it was a shame because that was a group of players. Certainly there was loads of talent there, and they probably should have won a league title or two. But in terms of your point about the off the pitch stuff now, absolutely. I mean, they've come on leaps and bounds. I think the Peter Moore stuff I saw over the weekend was great. And anyone who's been to a supermarket in the last 2 weeks will know it's a little bit like the Hunger Games. So you probably could do with like one or two people who know how to manage a crowd and stuff. And obviously it is wild at the minute. So I thought that was a great shout from Peter Moore, to be honest. I don't know whether anyone's taken him up on it, but it certainly feels like someone should. And obviously it keeps those guys busy as well. And there's obviously an appetite from some of the stewards to get involved and do some of that. The Andy Bobo stuff you mentioned as well, I think we all know he's a sound fella. But there's loads of them at the club now. I mean, I think this is what the manager's done very well. The recruitment team's done very well. It's not always been, or it's not about just what these lads are about on the pitch in terms of football ability. Yes, they're good players, but actually they feel like good people as well. And I think there's a sense of that now with this club, that actually there's lads there who are just normal fellas. Do you know what I mean? You said that the other day. You know, you want to go for a pint with most of them. Do you know what I mean? You just seem like sound lads, but actually they're about the community as well. They know there's people struggling. They know there's the food bank stuff going on, and they're happy to get involved in that. I always think we can do more as well. I noticed, I think it was Miguel Delaney said on the supplement the other day, the two Manchester clubs had donated money to the food banks. I think it was 100 grand, which is a lot of money. But actually for those two clubs, it's probably a little bit of a drop in the ocean. I think there's more we can do always. That might seem harsh because they don't have to do it at all, but I think there's always more that football can do, certainly in the Premier League. And I think this is a time where you start to find out a lot about people, do you know what I mean, and about football and the stuff that actually football can do to help the wider community. So yeah, I mean, it was great from the Reds, to be honest. And as I say, more of that, please.
Yeah, I mean, we can all help each other as well, can't we? I mean, I had messages of people just saying, you know, where could they go in terms of, you know, still donating to the food banks and things like that, which is great. I know people have been going down to Home Baked and just getting loads of pies in there. They're selling them out the window. You can buy them frozen, take them home, eat them up at home and have them. But you're obviously still supporting a business there that relies massively on match day trade. I think even things like Mick's shop as well, hat, scarf and a badge. I think everyone's still getting stuck in buying stuff off Mick and things like that. Again, because these are people and things that are part of our match day. And as you said before, we should have been at a game over the weekend, potentially winning the league. And as it was, you know, Anfield would have been deserted, all that human traffic that it is business for a lot of people, and also donation to the food bank just wasn't there. So it's been great to see the reaction generally. In terms of the footy, there's lots and lots of people still having to say about things as is always the way. Team Wayne Rooney did a column in the Sunday Times, and he was saying, even as an Evertonian and a former Man United player, he thinks Liverpool should have the opportunity to win the league, haven't put all the hard work in. But that was good to read. Less good to read, another blue nose, Andy Gray. It seems like him and Hairy Hands are having a bit of a competition to see who can be the biggest gobshite, because obviously Hairy Hands was off on one the other week when he wasn't recreating Team Wolf. He was having a go at Liverpool again, and one for the kids there, by the way. And
I like it, mate.
But Andy Gray now is basically saying he's doing that thing that I think is annoying anyway, where he talks like it's definite. Do you know what I mean? So he's like, Liverpool won't be as dominant in the season that follows the one we need to finish off. So, how do you know? And he's like, he's like, will Virgil van Dijk be as dominant? Well, probably. And then he actually says he thinks that we played better footy the season before the one that still needs to be finished. And he's like, I think Liverpool fans would agree with me. He's like, the back four's being good and the goalie's being good, but the football's not being as good. Now, I'd argue with him on that. Because what I would say, I don't know what you think, is it's been more about nous. But nous is what wins you the title. Do you know what I mean? So, like, we played some great football on the clock, no two ways. But I think this season there's been like a steely determination to just win and get it done, and less about sort of tearing on the champagne football. Would you agree on that?
I think this is a thing where maybe for the neutral, it's less fun because Liverpool are winning nearly all the games. So, whereas previously, we'd win some games and we'd lose some games as well. If you go back over Klopp's tenure and he's trying to obviously piece the team together, there's the big game at Norwich, isn't it, which I think you went to, where they end up winning 5-4.
Yeah.
That's an unbelievable football match. And if anyone's watching that and it's not entertaining, then football's probably not for you. But at the end of the day, Robbo, you can't win a league title playing like that. Do you know what I mean? You can't. The Bournemouth game where you get beat 4-3 as well is another one that stands out, where it was a hell of a football match for the neutral. But I think what Klopp wants to do, and you have a little bit of that when you're trying to put your footprint on the team and stuff. He wanted us to be more controlled. He wanted us to show more nous in games and, be able to just kill time, essentially. At times, just be able to kill a football match. And if it's 2-0 on 60, that's job done. Liverpool can move on to the next one. Now, that might not be fun for Andy Gray and Richard Keys, but quite frankly, I couldn't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's all about winning the title for us. And I suppose, really, this is... They're two guys who we probably shouldn't give too much time to now, but we can't help ourselves because you just get pulled into it. And obviously, there's a lack of football at the minute, so why not? Let's get stuck into them, you know what I mean? But they are two fellas who very much fall into that dinosaur category now. They've had the day.
Yeah.
It's funny because I remember when Sky was first introduced, those two fellas were good at the job. Do you know what I mean? Weirdly, you forget about it now because they've become almost, lunatics. You know what I mean? The caricatures themselves. But back in the day, they were fellas who were deemed to be really good. And they had decent opinions. I don't know what's happened to the parents, to be honest with you. I mean, the fact that Richard Keys can suddenly say, we just start again. I mean, how does that work in anyone's world? How can you suddenly say, let's just forget about 75% of the season and we'll just start another one? Well, what happens if we have to end the next one? Do we just never finish football season?
Yeah.
I mean, I said the other day on the show, let's reward what you can reward. And at some point, we will be able to reward this Liverpool team for playing out a tremendous football season, one of the very best. It should be forgotten. It is a strange time for everyone, and yet football does take a bit of a backseat, and it's not high on everyone's agenda. I get that, but at some point, we will all need football again, and it will come back on people's radars, and it will become very important to us again. And I think you've said it, Robert. We are gonna need footy again. And Carragher said the other day on the debate with Neville, which I thought was good. He said, whilst we're all in a real tough time, we're struggling. We get it. You're worried about loved ones, worried about work. Don't be ashamed to say that you miss football. You know what I mean? Because it's a big deal. It's a big part of our lives. We've had conversations, off air where, from a mental health point of view, to take it back to the beginning of this show when we spoke about the Liverpool players. For us, it helps with stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mundane stuff, going through just general life. Footy is that 2-hour escape. It's absolutely, for me, it's been a huge part of my life. It will continue to be that way once we get through this. So let's not be ashamed to say we miss football. Yes, there's bigger things going on. There's much, much bigger things going on. It's life and death, and it's not as important as that, but it's still an important thing that at some point we get to return to. And when we do return to it, Liverpool are top of the league, and they should be given, the choice to go and finish that season, which they will be by the sounds of things. You do start to worry a little bit when maybe the footy does get to resume again, because it feels like it's maybe getting a little bit further away each day with the things that we're hearing and stuff. And that's back to the point of, it must be difficult for some of these players because they thought they were on the cusp of glory and obviously, going down as legends, and hopefully they still get to have that opportunity. But at the minute, it's been taken away from us all, and it is tough because it has been that one constant for lots of us, you know what I mean? And we've not got that at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, what we're going to do on the main Anfield Wrap show this week, we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to talk about all the sort of developments and the latest comments around what's happening with the season and how it will be managed around the coronavirus. But what we're also going to do, though, is we're going to start sort of celebrating what Liverpool have become under Jurgen Klopp and talking about sort of key moments in his reign. So it will be, at least for the first part of it, a pure football chat. And I'm quite looking forward to that because, as you say, you know, the realities day to day, some of them are a bit grim at the moment. I personally am tearing off the news a lot more than I would normally just because I don't want to hear it. I mean, I'm sort of, you know, I'll watch it, I'll catch up on it and I'll go, okay, now I'm done and I'm leaving it alone for 6 hours or whatever, you know what I mean? Just because, you know, lots and lots of people around mental health are saying, don't watch the rolling news. And I totally get where they're coming from because I could feel it dragging me down watching it the other day. So we're going to try and provide some relief away from all that. We are going to talk purely about footy in the first half of this week's free Anfield Wrap show. It will be out as a video, it will be out as a podcast, so get on that. E, thanks very much for joining us this morning, mate.
That, Rob, I think that's a great shout. Your point there about like staying away from your phone and stuff.
Yeah,
I could probably do a stay away from the fridge, to be honest, as well. If
me too.
But you know, we are where we are with that. But no, you're right, because I think, you know, yesterday I spent the day away from my phone for about a good 6 or 7 hours, and normally I'm on it all the time. Do you know what I mean? Just having a look at Twitter, see what's going on, and I thought, you know what, I'll give myself a bit of time and just return to it in the evening, and it did me the world of good, you know, because I was falling into that same trap as what you're saying there, getting pulled into every little bit of news about this, and it doesn't do you any good. So yeah, my advice would be maybe to put the phone down for a bit. Try and stay out the fridge if you can. But you know, it's tough times living it, mate. So you know, you need to get your little win somewhere. But yeah, that's really good advice, I reckon.
Yeah, it's right, E. Well, listen, stay safe, everyone. Stay well. That has been another Talk on Reds. We'll keep on putting stuff out for as long as we can, for as long as we can. There will always be the Anfield Wrap. We're not going anywhere, so stick with us. Up the fucking Reds.